This is a LISC presentation on Revive Therapeutics. LISC stands for Least You Should Know. Oftentimes in the medical world, we're given different scenarios to help train us. For instance, they may say, patient of 36 years of age presents to the emergency room, commonly known on the street as Knockout Nate, and accordingly is known to have an affinity, especially for pills. Knockout Nate presents tonight with profuse sweating, unresponsiveness, and his significant other says that this happens occasionally and she's not sure what exactly he usually takes. Of course, in this kind of situation, they are giving that to us to kind of help us have those knee-jerk reactions for certain antidotes that go along with different drug scenarios. In this case, it's almost safe to assume he's on some form of an opiate and that he is going to need what is commonly known as Narcan, generic name naloxone. Another scenario may be written as such that a 22-year-old male who loves to party, known as Mr. Turn It Up or Mr. Turnup, loves to drink anything and everything he can get his hands on. However, tonight you suspect poisoning of some sort as he reports to the emergency room. Upon further investigation, you discover that his best friend, known for making some backwoods Kentucky moonshine, presented him with some nice apple pie moonshine tonight before the party to help him get turned up, of course. Now, you wonder, what kind of poisoning might he have? What is the most likely scenario? The most likely case is because it is moonshine involved, it's probably methanol poisoning, in which case you would say the antidote is either fomepizole or most commonly also you can use ethanol. Now, what happens if you are presented with Miss Way Too Common who tried to commit suicide from severe depression? One of the most commonly used drugs to try to commit suicide is Tylenol. However, many people who try to do that don't know it's going to take so long. They don't realize what all consequences are going to be involved, or that it's not going to be a quick, painless death like they were probably hoping for. Nevertheless, what is the antidote that you're going to give to someone with Tylenol poisoning? It's going to be something called NAC. What is this voodoo magic of a miraculous drug, NAC? Because it is known to work not only as APAP toxicity as an antidote, and APAP is the abbreviated form for acetaminophen, that's known as paracetamol, of course, across the pond, but here in the United States we use acetaminophen. It is also known to help with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, helps with premature birth or recurrent pregnancy loss. Also, cystic fibrosis is found used for it. Chronic bronchitis it has been used in. Also, ulcerative colitis, liver cancer, asthma, and there is even newfound developments for starting some trials to see exactly how much it can help with neurological diseases such as Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's disease. NAC's full name is N-acetyl-cysteine. It is a cysteine derivative. The mechanisms of action is that it will stimulate glutathione biosynthesis. It's going to promote detoxification, especially in the liver, and it acts directly as a scavenger of free radicals. If you remember, antioxidants are going to fight against free radicals, which are damaging to the body. It's a power antioxidant and a potential treatment option for diseases characterized by the generation of free oxygen radicals. Now, yes, we have other types of antioxidants we can take, such as vitamins A, C, and E, but glutathione is one of the most potent. And as we can see on screen here, N-acetyl-cysteine has a thiol group, which is highlighted in red. A thiol group is going to be a sulfur and hydrogen combination, and it's hanging off on the side of the molecule usually, and it's able to be donated. At the top you can see a disulfide reaction that takes place in which the thiol group is donated off to the rest of the molecule. Here you can see where it says how does it work. It's just repeating that the mechanism of action is just as I've explained, that the antioxidant activity of NAC is attributed to the thiol group donation. Furthermore, NAC is a building block of glutathione. Here I just wanted to highlight and show you the disulfuric reaction, or reduction reaction at the top. R you can think of as rest of the molecule, okay? And so we have the rest of the molecule of some other substance that comes along. NAC is going to then donate its thiol group. And here I just threw some arrows so you can see exactly how that happens, where you're going to have the rest of the molecule from some other substance going to combine and take or accept the donated thiol group from NAC, thus creating two different molecules. There has been a lot of hope for NAC working in COVID-19 situations, and so I've just put a couple on screen now so you can see some of the top-notch magazines that have been publishing some of these trials and studies that have been trying to see how much NAC can actually help with SARS-CoV-2 and stop the COVID-19 disease progression, or exactly at which stage would it be best to try to give to the patient. Important points to know about NAC. It helps with acetaminophen toxicity. It is good for mucolytic chronic respiratory diseases. That means it busts up the mucus. Okay, it's going to break down very thick mucus or very thick mucoid disease processes. And for COVID-19 and other mucogenic disease processes, it seems to have great promise. Studies have shown that the preserving abilities of NAC against chemical toxicity is due to its role as a thiol donor. Hold that apple for a moment, but make sure you don't give it to Mr. Moonshine, okay? We all know what can happen if we do that. A little context and background, if we will. In the middle of the pandemic in 2020, lockdowns and mandatory work-from-home environments forced people to begin looking for new experiences to save them from the daily boredom and sometimes restlessness that ensued.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
As a result, we started to have a new generation of stock investors that began. One of the big movements that happened is the MOAS movement, if y'all remember, which is the mother of all short sales.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
From that, we had several different independent movements that sprang up. One of the biggest ones that sprang out of that was the GME movement, GameStop, which gained a lot of attention, and followed shortly behind by the AMC movement. And as we know, that was the spawning of the birth of meme stocks. Now, while all of this was going on in the macro picture, and we were constantly bombarded with news about death counts of the pandemic, geopolitical feuding over nationalism influenced the type of vaccine distributions we saw, and people, the countries who needed it most or could not afford it, was not able to get the vaccines, and heightened fears about all kinds of conspiracy theories were floating around. We saw in the microeconomic picture things be a little more focused with the exposing of greedy hedge fund managers, and we had the reemergence of different staple stock heroes like Dr. Michael Burry and Elon Musk became a thing, and we also had the to the moon and the wind moon generation, where every stock you could swear was going to go to the moon, right? And of course, let's not forget, we had crypto to really spring up big as well. However, there was also several other proverbial gold rush stock groups that came up in different hot sectors. One of these hot sectors was the vegan stocks and the group known as the COVID stocks. Many of you may be bag holding Relief Therapeutics who are listening to this right now, like myself. But trust me, it's going to get there. It's going to go to the moon.
Well, when life gives you lemons.
Trust me, bro. Now, finally, we had the psychedelic stocks. This was a cool hip category that was deliciously stonky and trippy enough that it had a great appeal for the risk-tolerant investors. Just to name a few, I put them up there on the screen and showed you the market cap. Many of these are still going strong. Now, there was even ETFs that sprung up that were going to be specifically for just shroom stocks, if you will. In fact, I can think of like 4 of them off the top of my head, but let's just trust what I wrote down. That'll be better. Here you have 4 shroom stock ETFs or psychedelic stocks. PSYK. You have one that is on the American Stock Exchange, and you also have one that is on the Canadian Stock Exchange. So that's what I mean by the other one, if you're looking at the screen right now. One particular psychedelic stock that caught my eye was Pharmather or Pharmather. I have to see how you pronounce that. I was very interested in this one. Still not sure about the pronunciation though. Anyway, it had a promising psilocybin drug. Actually, I really liked the drug delivery methods that they were coming out with as well. But in doing FDA testing, they came up with this microneedle drug delivery patch form of drug delivery system, and I was really digging that. This proprietary drug delivery system is as such. I won't go into too much detail about it because this presentation is not about them, but it is important to understand this. This is all important because they also have an AI platform, and AI has really been kicking off in healthcare lately, where it is able to quickly and rapidly and pretty accurately come up with different combinations of drugs that may work for different diseases, as well as, depending on how complex the AI program is, make suggestions about the delivery systems that would probably be best to be used in different situations. So this group, PharmaTher, I'm going to call them, their AI program showed that psilocybin may work for a particular group of cancers for treatment. Now, they wanted to really focus on their keto drugs, though, which is ketamine, really. It's not keto, but ketamine. But they have 3 granted FDA orphan drug designations already, as well as 20 granted patents, PCTs, and or provisional patents. Therefore, they needed to really try to focus on their ketamine drug line and try to do partnerships to work with their pharma patch to see what other drugs would work well with that. They're a small group and they needed to focus on the ketamine line. Along the way, they built very strong partnerships that you can see on the screen. For those of you who may just be listening alone, some of the groups are the University of Kansas as well as the University of Arizona, which ironically is where I happened to be when I first started really getting into looking at some of the different research that was going on with psychedelic drugs and their potential benefits. Revive Therapeutics entered into a collaboration agreement with this group so that they could use the development, or they could further develop and run trials of the psilocybin with the microneedle patch delivery system. So here we have a partnership, and this was actually how I found out about Revive Therapeutics and started saying, okay, who is this group that they're collaborating with? And then I discovered something very interesting. As you can see here, for PharmaTher management, you will have not only on the board of directors as the head, but also you will have the CEO of the group being Fabio. Now this Fabio person is also the founder, CEO, and president, or was the founder, CEO, and president of Revive Therapeutics for a number of years. A little bit more about Fabio. Well, not that one. Like, what year are we in? Like, dude, this is so old. Anyway, this Fabio. So, here we go. From 2012 to 2019, to be exact, is when he was the founder and president of Revive Therapeutics. And now we have him over here. So, obviously, there are some great inroads and connections there. And you will see as we go along, it's not just with PharmaTher that Revive Therapeutics is linked with. But for instance, they have a nice streamline now and already approved supplier of many of the psilocybin substance that they will need coming straight from Having Life Biosciences, which is another penny stock group that is available on the OTC under HAVN for their ticker symbol. So as we continue, we see PharmaTher is using the 505(b)(2) route to try to get their ketamine line approved. Now this is a great route for anyone who doesn't know, because this is dealing with drugs that are already approved for other reasons, and when you're dealing with that, you get to really go to the front of the line and bypass a lot of different steps in the process of getting FDA approved. Here we see that the University of Wisconsin-Madison, one of their partnerships again, is actually who's going to be running the research, and this is the group Having Life Sciences that I was mentioning a while ago that Revive Therapeutics is going to receive the psilocybin from, and then they're going to conduct the research here at University of Wisconsin and using their oral thin and hydrogel delivery systems for psychedelics. And this particular research is going to be seeing how the psychedelics can help with mental health disorders. We also see that there was an acquisition of Psilocin Pharma Corporation by Revive Therapeutics. Psilocin Pharma Corporation has developed and produced different solutions and different active compounds and compound forms of psilocybin. Now, with this acquisition was a lot of intellectual property. With that intellectual property came at least 4 or 5 different routes of administering psychedelic drugs. And with this acquisition, Revive Therapeutics was immediately able to benefit from the value addedness of Psilocin Pharma Corporation. Their hydroxy line that Psilocin Pharma had, as you can see here, that line is going to include capsules, sublingual spray, gel caps, effervescent tablets, breath strips. So you can see they gained a lot of intellectual property. Now it's really interesting to see once we take these three acquisitions, which is going to fall to psilocin, but when we plug it in here to look at the patent portfolio, you'll see that the patent portfolio is quite robust. Those three highlighted yellow there are just the three that psilocin are going to take over, and the rest Revive is basically over from my understanding. So we've talked a lot about the psilocybin line so far. Let's look at the other two drugs that Revive Therapeutics is focusing on for their pipeline. The first one out of the two is cannabidiol. For cannabidiol, we'll see here on screen that they already have orphan drug designation to use it for the treatment of autoimmune hepatitis. They also have orphan drug designation for prevention of ischemia or reperfusion injury resulting from solid organ transplantation. And let's get to the third drug now that they're going to be including in their pipeline, known as busillamine. Busillamine already has orphan drug designations for prevention of ischemia, reperfusion injury during liver transplantation, and also ODD for treatment of cystinuria. And so you can see here on screen their pharmaceutical strategy is to have clinical development of all three of these different drugs and to target rare disorders and infectious diseases, neurological disorders, mental health, and liver diseases. And they also want to incorporate and either service out or use as much as they can in-house their own novel formulations and drug delivery systems. Now, busillamine in particular, they are really highlighting that one for the opportunities they have for treating infectious diseases. Now, remember this apple earlier that I told you to hold? Now, remember, we were talking about NAC at the time, and I said that NAC, they are known, as you can see on screen, for their thiol donating capabilities, and in doing that, that gives them tremendous antioxidant activity as well as chemical toxicity, antidotal abilities. And remember I talked about here with the disulfide reduction reaction about the thiol transfer. You see the thiol group that is highlighted there in the middle. Well, this is busillamine structure. Immediately you will notice that there are two thiols, right? So you would think double the potency, right? Not exactly. In fact, you're actually going to have 16-fold more potency from their NAC and their abilities when it comes to being a cysteine derivative when compared with Mucomyst, which is that's going to be the name brand form for N-acetyl-cysteine. So once again, busillamine, whatever you think NAC is able to do, 16-fold multiply that for the potency. And that's what we're looking at with busillamine. One other thing you may not know is that Revive Therapeutics is heavily involved within the psychedelic scene. And by that, I mean there are things they are looking at that are beyond even what has been presented here or what you may have heard about. One group in particular that they've dabbled with is Red Light Holland. And Red Light Holland, they are coming out with truffles, psychedelic truffles. And the guy who's starting this group, I mean, he's very active, very accomplished himself. Previous to coming over and starting Red Light Holland on the path it's on now, he has several other accomplishments under his belt. We won't go into that too much right now because we're focusing on Revive. But I just put this here to show you how they've already been looking beyond, expanding it beyond rather, even what they're presenting on the website or what you might have heard circulating out there. Upcoming catalysts that we have for this quarter, which is quarter 3 of 2022, you can see on screen. Now, Revive Therapeutics in summary. I just wanted to put this up here so you can hear directly from them, but the main things to know about if you're wanting to invest in this company is they're focused on repurposing drugs for rare and infectious diseases. They're advancing the clinical development of busillamine for infectious diseases, including COVID-19, which is currently at phase 3 trial. They are developing also with busillamine, psilocybin, and cannabidiol therapeutics. Their robust patent portfolio already has 15 patents and patent applications. Anyway, as I was saying, this is an extremely robust group and a great value at the current price that they're going for. Hello everyone, Dr. Joey here. Thanks so much for watching the video. Please remember everything that you saw is not medical nor financial advice. When it comes to the world of stock trading, especially penny stocks right now, be careful. Know your game, only invest what you are willing to lose. In the world of penny stocks, there are very few stocks with this kind of promise and this type of valuation. When it comes to the world of biotech stocks, please be careful and understand that all of it can be very fickle. It can definitely go against the grain. The betas can go all over the place. And so again, know what you hold, constantly stay updated on the research, and only invest what you are willing to lose. That being said, in the broader stock market right now, we're in a very volatile situation. And on top of that, we have the bond market, which is an undercurrent that most people don't see. The bond market is much bigger than the stock market. Much, much bigger. Therefore, you've had a lot of people that's been in the bond market since 2018. It's been overinflated in itself. And you have people who have now lost a lot of money or who have gotten out. Therefore, be careful and understand that a crash most likely is coming. It's not just conspiracy, and it's not just people saying things to try to pump up or elevate their own certain agendas. This is simple fact of the matter, and it's numbers. The math doesn't lie. That being said, once again, when it comes to the world of penny stocks, there are very few penny stocks with this much promise, this much valuation, and this much going for its future that has the outlook that Revive Therapeutics does. Especially if you're into psychedelic stocks, I don't see how you can mark this one off the list easily. That being said, I look forward to next time, and thanks for watching. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment if you will. Thank you.